Tried. Okay, yo, my bad. Yo, what's up? This is Shadow Rock and Pro 41 of the Florida Gangs and Knuckleneck Tribe, and you're watching The Trades, the show about breaking hip hop and the business of. Thanks for tuning in, y'all. 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I'm here, obviously on YouTube, doing the trades. But this one's a special one for me. We're gonna get all into the topics and stuff like that, and as people come in and tune in, we're gonna get into the meat of this whole show, and I'm very proud of it. But before we do that, I just want to talk about a little bit why I started. I didn't even realize this, the other day. I didn't even realize that we had something going on as far as Filipino American History Month, or the Phil-Am. And I discovered this actually doing this battle in Livermore, and it was a 2-on-2. I did it with my crewmate Jerry from Floor Gangs, U.S. Floor Gangs, and when we signed up, it was like, oh, it's a regular breaking event, right? Competition. But what was coordinated with it was a Filipino festival. So what I'm going to do is going to pull up maybe a clip of me dancing from there. Got to the semifinals, happy about that. Here's the clip. Dancing, right? Yep. Oh man, still doing it. 47, by the way. Right, do my thing. Still battling, you know what I mean? Still battling, right? That was that whole thing. I'm still battling. And I was like, okay, this is fun, doing my thing, doing my yo, B, what up? B, all right. He's gonna say a few things too, you know what I'm saying, before we get started. LA represent, because you gotta talk about LA. So, I entered this past weekend and it was a Filipino festival, and I was like, okay, that's interesting. I thought that's all in August, and I'm like, what's September? And it was like, oh, wait a second, this is different from a Filipino festival. It's a Filipino American History Month. It's Filipino American History Month, and this is why we're having the festival out there in Livermore. And I was like, oh shoot, okay, that's dope. Got my my lechon and my panse on after the battle and stuff like that. So I was really happy about that. And then I was like, you know what? I need to do a trades about the Phil-Am B-Boys and B-Girls, because that's a story that hasn't been told yet. On the trades I've covered, I've covered the Bay Area, but I was very, Bay centric. Like, this is the Bay Area, this is the different parts of the Bay Area. But I didn't talk about the people, I didn't talk about necessarily the people. But we're gonna talk about that. But before we do that, I gotta clean the house a little bit. First, I want to say, right, I gotta do some house cleaning. First, I gotta say, 65% of you are not subscribed. You're liking the videos. I see it. You're liking the shorts. You're watching the shorts. Thank you, because now I get about 1,000. And I put on my community poll. Hey, do you guys want more tutorials? And then when I put on the tutorials, you guys really watched it. You guys were giving me numbers on there. And obviously, if I get to 1,000, I'm at 700, almost 800 subscribers. If I get to 1,000, I can start monetizing. But yeah, you guys are enjoying the content, but 65 of you are not subscribed. So please subscribe, help the channel out. I have a lot of plans, basically help monetize, help you get a better set, and do better production, so subscribe, like, hit the bell for notifications. And yeah, and help, actually, if I only had like 10% of you, I would probably get to 1,000 already. Okay, so that's one thing. So please subscribe. The other thing is, I gotta give a shout out to the sponsor, because as I'm waiting for you guys to help me out, I gotta find people who would help pay for this channel. And One of our sponsors is zenworld.com. Zenworld is a shop out there in Las Vegas, originally from Las Vegas. And their main product is CBD. If you don't know what CBD is, it's the non-psychoactive part of cannabis, right? So, you know, you don't get a head high, but what CBD does is that it helps with, you know, especially someone like me who's 47, who still competes, that still wants to break, that still wants to do air flares, pocket by 50. I feel it coming, pocket by 50. You're going to need help in rest and recovery. So I use CBD. So here is one of the products of Zen World. These are Zim Hemp Nano Drops. This is citrus flavor. CBD is good for inflammation because, again, that's the thing that causes me to get stiff, right, is inflammation. So, and if you can't sleep, it helps with anxiety too. Let me take a drop right now. I like it. So that helps. Now, if you don't want to ingest it, they also have the roll-ons. So this works like an icy hot, but the difference is it has a healing properties of CBD, which again is good for inflammation. And if you're like me, who's trying to do multiple air flares, you know, I did air flare windmill 2 weeks ago, doing handstand air flare to get the drills. I did flare air flare. Well, you know, numerous moves. CBD helps. So again, 10% off with the promo code PROFOWN, PROFOWN. If you go to the website, you get 10% off and you get a discount on rest, recovery, and repair. All right, now that being said, let me continue with the show. The influence of Pinoys and Pinays in breaking. Now here's the thing, I have a bunch of receipts ready for you. Now here's the difference. Normally, you know, it's me, like when I talk about this is usually like, you know, talking to old friends or in a workshop or, you know, in a lecture. But sometimes I don't have the access to YouTube where a lot of this content exists. The challenge of YouTube, it's like, you know, there's millions and billions of videos out there. So to like, even just for modern day breaking, to like get the history, you're going to have to dig, and not just dig, you have to curate. And here's the thing about when I would do workshops, these are things I would talk about. I didn't have visual reference. Well, today, my friends, I'm going to give you the receipts. I am going to give you receipts, comparisons. This is going to, I'm really looking forward. Today is something, even if there was like one of you guys watching, maybe even no one watching, I am very proud of today's episode because I started from 10 a.m. gathering. I had the idea already, right, of the show. But I was up at 10 a.m. already gathering. What videos do I need to show? What references that we need for this show today? And, you know, the first thing I thought of was, well, you know, we could talk about America, but let's talk about Philippines real quick, right? For those of you who don't know. And I'm not going to really pull any clips or maps or anything like that. But if you don't know, Philippines is in Southeast Asia, right? It's right above like Indonesia and Malaysia. It's like a little bit at the bottom of like, you know, it's a little bit east of like China and Japan and stuff, right? So, you know, it's an island that has a very interesting history. So real quick history about Philippines is that originally we probably looked more like Aborigine type people, very dark. You know, in the north of Philippines, in Luzon, you have the Igorots, the tribesmen, and they almost, you know, like we're talking like we almost look like, you know, we have African blood. So we have our original culture that actually no one knows about, right? And this is from like, shout out to my teacher back in 1994. I took a Filipino history class in 1994. So I learned all this, right? I don't have the exact names and dates, but we could all look that up. So originally we had a original religion, which was closer to Native Americans. We believed in nature, things of nature, right? And then the Moors came. And if you don't know the Moors, they're basically the Muslims from Africa. You know, we traded a lot with different cultures. So the Moors introduced Islam, right? They introduced Islam to Malaysia, Indonesia, and Philippines, of course. So that was like, one of our first official religions was Islam. Then after that came the Spanish. And this is where we have a similar story to Puerto Ricans, to Mexicans, to Dominicans. When Ferdinand Magellan came to Philippines and, Lapu-Lapu basically killed them, right? But, they came back with their battalions with the gunships and messed us up, right? We held a lot of cultures out, with our martial arts, Kali, Arnis, but this is prior to that, before the Spanish came. We held a lot of invaders, intruders off at bay until the Spanish came with the gunships, and then they, colonized us, right? That's why we have Spanish last names like Diaz or Batista. That's when they came in and basically enslaved us, right? So that's already like two cultures, like, taking over us, right? We have our original Native American or native religion. Then we had Islam come, so we get assimilated to them. Then we had the Spanish come, we got very assimilated to them. Then the Americans came and took out the Spanish. And then we started, the American culture. Then after that, the Japanese came and then took us over. Then the Americans came and then recolonized. So compared to a lot of other Asian countries, we've been assimilated by a lot of different cultures. So it's almost like we have an identity crisis. Filipinos have an identity crisis. Because if I asked a Chinese person, he could trace all the way down, from all the lineage, he could probably trace that down, right? From the original religion they had. Japanese, same thing. But Filipinos we can only, the average Filipino only knows from when Spain colonized. So right there is a little bit of an identity crisis. Now, okay, so that's and that at the same time, prior to that, we look more Aborigine. Prior to that, we already liked singing and dancing, and we're very people that always celebrates, right? So rhythm, expression wasn't hard for our culture. We were just very easy to take over at certain moments in my culture. So then you fast forward to 1965 when America opens up immigration, and basically you could sponsor people coming in. And of course, there was an influx during the Vietnam War. There was an influx of Southeast Asians coming to America, right? You have, Vietnamese, Cambodian, not so much. Like we're talking, Cambodia is probably like late 70s, early 80s. But, and Vietnam was tough because of the war. But you had this influx of immigrants coming from the Philippine Islands for sure, right? China, all these other places. So as a receipt, before I go on, give a shout out to J-Rock, Flow Rocker style elements. We got some early 90s B-boys in the chat. All right. There you go. Do it, Doug. Oh, damn. Everyone's talking about this ain't a Clerks 3. This ain't a Clerks 3 podcast. It's about breaking. It's the influence of Pinoys and Pinays and breaking. So there was a book that was written 7 years ago by Oliver Wang. He basically is from LA. He stayed out here in the Bay, went to school out here, got his degree out here, and he wrote for numerous different hip hop magazines. And he came out with a book called Legion of Boom, which is about the Filipino mobile DJs that happened in the very, very late 70s, early 80s to about 1996. So what I'm going to pull out here is a receipt of him talking about the book, but something very specific in the book. He's at a lecture right here. And, him not being Filipino, but, him very, very, very curious of how there's these Filipino DJs. And that's where I want to start with the Filipino DJ, because the dance, he says the opposite. He says that the dancers shaped the DJs. I would say, but at the same time, these are the things that, that help facilitate where we could dance, or the DJs. So I'm going to share that right now. We're going to talk Oliver Wang.
A series called AA Productions. Eventually, there's one coming out of Fairfield called Just for Fun.
So he's talking
And this
about
is
the
all happening
different.
kind of in that mid, like 85 to 1990 in essence. It's really by around the late 80s and early 90s, some of these bigger crews have begun to fade away. And so that's kind of, you can see where it crests around that time.
And at this point, with the influence of Mark Bradford, promoters.
So Mark Bradford through the Imagines. My cousin won the first Imagine. Zero Gravity, a crew called Zero Gravity.
Yeah, I mean, the parties were, I think, predominantly Filipino-American, and partly it has to do with the demographics of the Bay Area, is that you had these clusters of families settling in the same area. So Daly City is obviously the best known, but also Union City, Fremont in the East Bay, San Jose in the south, Vallejo and Hercules in the north. And you just had a critical mass of people that allowed these parties to be predominantly Filipino. And so I've interviewed Filipino-American DJs from Los Angeles. And so for those of you who are familiar, people in the Beat Junkies, for example, and when they would go up to these Bay Area parties, they would say it would blow their minds because they had never been to a party that was just Filipino people. Their parties in LA were much more mixed because the Filipino-American communities didn't have the same kind of demographic critical mass that you could achieve in different parts of the Bay Area.
There you go.
But
that was a receipt. So he has done his research. Oliver Wang, give a shout out to him. I tagged him on Instagram. Hopefully he's watching. So he talked about, and this is again, he documented it at 1979, 1980. So what another receipt I'm going to pull out is that's when hip hop started to pop off, even though at that time it was really funk, right? So you had a lot of the beginnings of the Strutters, and specifically in San Francisco, the Strutters, the Boogaloos, the Boogaloo Dancers, and the Lockers, right? Because that was already on TV at the time. Skilroy said he saw the Jackson 5 dance with the Don Campbell Lockers. So he saw that on TV. So he said that was like 1979. So the street dancing stuff in the West Coast is already happening. It has its own thing going on. Then through the military and through TV, then you had breaking starting to come to the West Coast around 1981, 82. Again, my cousin was in a crew called Zero Gravity, and that was around 82 and 83. And of course, I'm Filipino. So my cousin's Filipino. So at that point, and we talked about in the Trades and Gearheads, we talked about how everyone and their mama used to break or pop or lock back in the 80s, like everyone. Like it was a fad. It was like doing the floss dance. If I could relate it to anything, it was like TikTok. It was like breaking was that big. So since everyone did it, of course, the Filipinos did it too. And one of the first all Filipino b-boy crews in the 80s hailed from Union City, right? And the thing is about this crew is that they're still around. Who am I talking about? Well, started in 1983, I believe. I'm talking about Rock Force crew. You're like, wait, but Ives and Machine, and no, it's originally an all Filipino copyright. That's actually All Wayne. Oops. And they're from Union City, Rock Force crew. That's All Wayne right there. As a little kid. Copyright, watch out. All right. So again, Rock Force crew was an all Filipino crew. There goes Alwyn. Shout out to Dino, Mario, Eugene. So, we could talk about how they continued from 83 to the 90s. But we're gonna stop actually at the 90s. Let's go to the chat. I just remember the footage from Popper going off. He broke his leg again. Yeah, that was Raccoon. I'm about to pull that receipt real quick. Not that exact video, but you'll see. So here's the thing. So basically, there's crews like Rock Force is one of the crews that's all Filipino at the time. Rock Force 1, first generation Rock Force. But the Renegades from San Francisco and Daly City, they had, you know, they weren't all Filipino, but they had members that were Filipino. I heard about and maybe Aki could talk about this. There was like, and then one of my boys talked about there was two sisters that were in Renegades. I believe it was Renegades that they were Filipino. You know what I mean? Like, so the DJs and the Filipinos were together because basically, again, they would play the music and they were playing like hall parties. They're playing what we call jams, right? Which were basically clubs for kids, right? Like the Imagine were clubs for kids. There were like, you know, there was garage parties, there was hall parties, there was quinceañeras, there was, you know, cotillions. And this is where the dancing was done, right? And I'm gonna pull out some footage in a few with a man from Florida who originally lived in the Bay, but he was from Florida, but he has a lot of this footage with crews that were not just all Pinoy, but then we're mostly Pinoy. So then, you know, even though Breaking died in about 85, right? Shout out to J-Rock, you know, you talk about Sidewalk, the battle with Sidewalk versus Sidewalk, that was 85 in Chuck E. Cheese. But to everyone else is pretty much dead, right? We could say, you know, they still did it, but then about 86, it was already like, hey, you're not doing the Running Man. Hey, you're not doing the Smurf. Hey, you're not doing the Fila. Hey, you're not doing the Happy Feet. What are you doing? That breaking shit is old, right? All over America. Okay, and this is confirmed. Little Caesar said it, like, which we're gonna have him on the Gearheads this Sunday. But everyone, it was dead. Breaking was dead, right? The thing that, you know, that kept it alive, obviously in Europe, it wasn't dead, right? Germany wasn't dead. You know, Japan wasn't dead. People still did it. But again, so it died 85, 86, right? Breaking died in America. Then in 1991, you know, DJ Qbert won the DMC. Another, again, the DJs reviving this thing, right? DJ Qbert won the DMC, and you know, he won the US but lost the Worlds against DJ David from Germany. The thing about Qbert though is the finals, the nationals was in New York, and that's when he met Crazy Legs, and that's when he became the West Coast Rocksteady DJs, right? DJ Qbert, Mixmaster Mike, and DJ Apollo. DJ Apollo, a B-boy, a Westmark champion in the 80s, was DJ Apollo Novicio, right? That he stopped breaking and became a DJ. Just like DJ Renegade, he said the same thing for himself. Stopped being a B-boy, started to become a DJ. It seemed like that was like another thing that happened, right? Was a transition. So basically, when he said when Qbert got into Rocksteady and became West Coast Rocksteady DJs, that re-sparked kind of like the movement, the housing movement, right? Which was like an extension of hip hop freestyle dance. But this time, the Knuckle Neck Tribe, which was one of the first crews to be West Coast Rocksteady, which half of them, again, you know, Gizmo, who was part of Renegades, is Pinoy. Paul Cerati, P-Kid, is Pinoy. You know, G Boogie was Pinoy, right? And just to show you, they were in a show, and I had this in the trades, and I don't want to show too much of that because we still got to get to the actual people in here. That re-sparked the whole scene. So what I'm going to pull up, and I played in the trades before, is how big the scene got. And it's full of Pinoys and Pinays back in the early 90s, because you know, DJ Qbert won in 1991. And since he was on the show Home Turf, that spread this thing. So this is how big DJ Extravaganza was. Right? Like, here's the DJs. And then I'm gonna go crowd shot. DJ Extravaganza crowd shot. So this is how big it got as far as, so this is 92. Like, if you can see how big that is, right? And myself and my brother was at this event. And all those all you see here is circles. All you see here is circles. And this is provided by DJ Dave Dynamics. This is how many battles. This is the first time Sean Ortiz battled Knuckleneck Tribe. I was there. Why? Because we backed up Knuckleneck Tribe. And the first time we saw Sean Ortiz, you know, he had the tights and the helmet. And we were like, what the? Well, he didn't wear the tights. He had tight clothes on. He didn't necessarily have the tights. But what he was doing was like next level, right? Sidewalk breakers, right? And we were just used to like multiple windmills. But in this crowd shot, you could see at least 5 or 6 circles. This is a big arena, you know? This is a big arena, and you had like a bunch of setups with the DJs. And that's a circle right there. Right there's a circle. A bunch of girls are going to jump in and do like a little dance routine right here. So this is 1992. So that's the thing that redeveloped the scene, that reignited the scene. It wasn't quite the, you know, it wasn't quite the 80s, but it was a something that we saw as growing up. And, you know, that crowd was predominantly Filipino. You know, there's a few other races mixed in, but it was thrown by, the production was Filipino and Vietnamese, because it was like mostly in South Bay, Santa Clara. And, you know, San Jose is mostly known for Vietnamese and Mexican, right? Or South American. So that was a little receipt about how big the crew is. Mikey Disco basically did some research. He said from about 91 to 94, there was at least 60 crews out there. Not necessarily all B-boys, but freestyle hip hop dancers that added that knuckle-neck flavor, right? And here's a big receipt to show that I was there. All right, check this out. So this is a DJ event that happened. And it was in Fairfield. I remember it was in Fairfield because Knuckleneck was going to perform.
Favorite of fun, this is one of the few things that you can do in this town when you're your age, right?
Yep.
All right, enjoy yourselves, guys. Okay.
So here's some
receipts.
Ron.
Introduce your posse, right?
Yeah, this is Circle Jerks, boys! Circle Jerks!
So, all right, so just to pull some receipts.
That's Brian Vallejo.
So, okay, that's myself. There goes Rob. It's my man Dave Roman. Right here is Raccoon. You know, he broke his leg. This is a few months prior to the first time he broke his leg. And my boy Alan from San Leandro. And we were known as Circle Jerks or 360. Circle Jerks is another crew that happened. Tony Styles eventually got in that one. That resurfaced around the late 90s, 1998. So yes, this is me at 16.
All over, man. All over.
Who's the favorite for you guys tonight?
Favorite? What do you mean, DJ?
Yeah, DJ.
Oh, Club 5. Right here. Club 5 and High Tech.
Well, High Tech is in the house. Club 5 is in the house.
So that was a receipt that I was there. That's crazy. So this is what it was back then. This is what it was. This is like every weekend there was an event. You know what I'm saying? From that time, the kid you just saw early in Rock Forest, Alwyn, he actually became part of my crew because he was living in Vallejo, even though he's originally from Union City. Alwyn moved to Vallejo and basically got with our boy Greg, right? because Rock Force 2 didn't exist yet. Greg and Olin became really close and they started practicing together. And then from that, his other cousins from Rock Force 1 had some other cousins from Union City that moved to Fairfield, and they were called MOM, right? Masters of Movement. We were 360. They were Masters of Movement. Dean from the original Rock Force crew from the first generation asked Owen, hey, do you know any B-Boys? Because we're trying to bring Rock Force back. And that became Rock Force 2. So you saw footage of Rock Force 1. Let me show you a footage of Rock Force 2. So this is Rock Force 2, and this is a mix from actually DJ Cuber, because this is what battles used to be. They weren't competitions the way we know it. They're basically talent shows. So this is some legendary footage from 1993 of Rock Force. So who you saw in that video just now, I'll show you. So the guy that was talking earlier, yeah, let me go to the solos. So that's Owen and Greg right there. Right. There goes Raccoon. You saw him in the interview. You saw this guy, Raccoon. He's on right here. He broke his leg. Right? That's Raccoon. He messed up the routine. There goes my boy Greg. If you guys see my, there's Elmer. He's going to be a very important figure in breaking out here in the Bay Area. Filipino too. Okay. Let me show. Okay, so this is my boy Daryl. You saw him in the video. Okay, so that's Greg again. All right, doing head spins. Again, 1993. And then here's my boy Daryl. He was in the video talking about Rashad. Look at everyone screaming his name. Alright. Okay, so that's Roy from Vallejo. That's why do you want to do Flare 90 in a battle? It's because of this guy. Alright, there goes Raccoon. Okay, there goes Greg again. Let's show Elmer in the end. So that's a gyro. Give a shot TDK. Alright, Eugene. Let me show. This is Elmer. Yeah. Flare, headspin, flare. Alright. So that was 1993. Pretty crazy. Pretty crazy. To think that, you know, these kids had an influence. So Elmer was like kind of that guy back then. You know, he was the first one to really like get combos down like solidly. Because, you know, yeah. Shout out to B. Different from the master movements from this is different master movements. This is MOM master movements from 92 to 93, 91 to 93. So yeah, totally different. And Elmer was part of that. Yeah, 93. Yes, sir, Corey, 93. We were way before y'all saw it. This is how deep we were. I just showed footage of 92 before anyone knew in the hip hop clubs. We were doing it. We already had our scene. You know, while everyone was doing the Running Man, we were doing that. You know what I'm saying? That's just I'm just pulling out receipts. That's how long I was around. I was like, most of these events I'm pulling receipts from, except for the first one with Owen in the hall. I was at that DJ extravaganza. I was there. This performance of Rock Force, I was there. Actually, I performed at it. Dang, no one has. I wish someone had footage of that. When you saw me earlier in 1992 with the Knuckle Neck Tribe performance, I was there. So this is the thing that shaped a lot of what we're doing now. right? So I'm going to talk about the sidewalk tape a little bit, right? Because there was only a few people that had access to that tape at the time. You know, it was Renegades and Rock Force. So with that tape, seeing all the guys from Sidewalk, has seen Cyclone do Flare 90, seeing Junior Cardone, seeing these guys, seeing Money B. We're like, okay, there are way more next levels than what we saw, right? There are way more next levels, right? I'm gonna pull up a little bit of this footage from one of the homies from Florida. But then when you read where it's at, you know, you'd be kind of surprised. Give it a shout out. Right here, War Games, Vallejo. And we're gonna read it together. Vallejo, right there, 1993. And this is Crazy Phase, Tech 9. There goes Daryl, my boy Daryl again. He had a Jetta we used to roll in. And look at the receipt right here, 1993. And here again, all Filipino. So this is like a lot of the stuff that we used to do, right? Before like anyone else, there was not a lot of African Americans, maybe a few, one or two Latino Americans there. And this is a fully returned. So that like the housing kind of stopped. It's fully breaking now. It's fully like back to the 80s and the early 90s, right? And they're all predominantly Filipino. Tech 9, Filipino. Crazy Phase, Filipino. Concrete Rockers, predominantly Filipino, right? And here's the evidence of it. Here's the receipts that we were continuing the culture in dance, you know, in the Bay Area, you know. And not a lot of people know that, because when you go worldwide, they think if you're from California, you're from LA. And like, we're talking about Rock Force, which is a crew that still exists today. And yeah, it's an international crew. Started from Union City, all Filipinos, Renegades. You know, even though, you know, in the early 80s, they had Filipinos in it. I mean, it was not predominantly Filipino, but there was Filipinos in it, right? So now we go to the early 90s, it's all Filipino, pretty much, right? And there was Knuckle Neck Tribe had the original Knuckle Neck Tribe guys, which was G Boogie, Bayardo, P Kid, Gizmo, you know, Corel from Jughead eventually joined Knuckle Neck. And then there was another Knuckle Neck. There was Octaviano's Ox Knuckle Neck, which was Cyclone, which was Diamond D, Daryl, which was B-Boy Wicket, right? And Jazzy J. Well, no, Jazzy J wasn't a Knuckle Neck 2. My bad. He wasn't Knuckle Neck 2. He was DCB with Concrete. Like, there was another crew called Concrete Rockers, but there was, like, they had a super crew called Daly City Breakers, DCB, which was Mega Movement, PRT, and Concrete Rockers. And the guy in Mega Movement that was super gifted was Jazzy J. Filipino. So I'm gonna pull up those receipts. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna pull up those receipts. But before I pull up that receipt of Jazzy J, so I just showed War Games, and that was in Vallejo. My boy Greg ended up winning the headspin contest there. That was 1993. So check out this other battle from 1993. Right here. And what I'm talking about is when the scene shifts, right? It's already like B-boys are predominant, right? It went from Hauser to B-boy. These aren't Pinoys, but the story I'm going to tell you is why it's important that they were there. We're talking about Air Force in San Jose in 1993, right? Caesar, Willpower, and Robbie. Right. So the story is they basically heard about a jam in the Bay Area. Give a shout out to Willpower. God damn, bro. I want flares like that. So Willpower, Caesar, and Robbie drove up from LA, heard about this competition, and didn't know that you had to do a show. So they took DJ Marlino's mix. PRT just went out to perform. And they didn't have music. So they used PRT's music and did this and won the event, right? And look at the event. The event, again, is a showcase. It's not a battle that we know you sign up and you battle other people. It's whoever wins the judges and crowd of the best show. There goes Willpower. All right. So let's fast forward a little bit, some of this. So that's Air Force, right? You're like, all right, yeah, but Air Force is, you know, they're Latino, they're from LA. What does this have to do with Filipinos? So I did a jam with Lil Caesar, who's gonna be on the Gearheads this Sunday. But anyway, I did a jam with Lil Caesar in Utah back in 2013. And he talked about this event specifically. And again, I was at this event too. Again, I could tell you what mix they used. They used DJ Marlino from San Diego, who lives in San Diego, originally from the Bay, Daly City, went to Jefferson High School, who made that mix. He told me the reason why I wanted to do Radiotron again from the 80s is because I went to this event. And you know what he told me? Because, you know, in LA, we didn't have so many. We had the hip hop shop. We would get kicked out of clubs. But this is the first time this many people cheered for me, doing my thing. He said 300, quote unquote, 300 Filipino people cheering for me. So when I saw that, I said, I need to bring back Radiotron. This event right here, this receipt I just showed you is the reason why there's a Radiotron. Yo, I'm going to go on again on Sunday on the Gearheads where we're going to have Caesar, and he's going to say it out of his mouth. It was 300 Filipino kids screaming for me is why I want to come back with Radiotron. Since I'm talking about Radiotron, right under Elmer from Rock Force, who's Filipino, right? He watched the Sidewalk tape, observed it. We saw him do Flair Headspin Flair. He was battling Easy Rock in '93 as well. You know, Easy Rock came out because of Alex Aquino, who was in charge of Zulu Nation at the time, manager Cubert, manager Knuckle Neck, and he ended up battling Easy Rock in the finals. And when he changed his name to Easy Rock because it used to be B-Boy Access. Yes, I said it. Easy Rock's original B-Boy name is B-Boy Access, right? Shout out to Iceman. Shout out to Hip Hop Shop. Shout out to Freeze. Nonstop. You know, fresh. So anyway, because of Elmer influence. Damn, I should pull out that receipt too, huh? But I already did my thing. Because of Elmer, he influenced Jazzy J, right? Jazzy J of Renegades, who used to be Mega Movements, who is Filipino. And again, because of this World War that Caesar was at, the receipts right there. That footage originally from Ben from Concrete Rockers, right? From Daly City. Who isn't Pinoy? He's white, but that was his footage. Because of that event, you had Radiotron. And by the time the scene was kind of dying out here in the Bay, for me anyway, I was like older. You know, again, I'm 16, 17, 93, I was already about to be 18 at that point. Caesar decided to bring back Radiotron. So what we're going to see is the people that continued it. So Rock Force 2 actually slowed down, and J-Rock could vouch for this. And Caesar brought back Radiotron, you know. we have this, the checkered floor, the legendary checkered floor. And who do we have there? We have Vic. So right here, let me pause it. We have Jazzy J. Originally Daly City, South City, Mega Movements. Knuckle Neck 2 became the Renegades, right? And by the time Elmer and them were done, here's Jay continuing Elmer's legacy of creating different types of power moves. Now let me pause this real quick. Where is it? Okay, we saw freestyle. Okay, we have Vic. Yo, Vic goes to Keysar, bro. Oh, that's animation. I went too far. But freestyle from Central Valley. Right. We got Manny, right, who eventually became Renegades. So Jazzy J again. Doing different. Yo, he did it like an air track or chair flare back then in 1995. Now I'm gonna pause it. Boom. So right here, Vic, original Knuckle Neck 2, B-boy from the 80s, Wicked, went to Balboa High School, lived in the Excelsior District, Filipino, and Jazzy J from South City, Filipino. So this is oh damn, Manny was also Master Movements on your guys' side. Master Move. See, that's the difference. You guys were Master Movements, and I was talking about Master of Movements. Shout out to B. That's what I'm talking about. Correct me if you have to. You know what I'm saying? Yo, Jay, you're right. Floor Rockers, of course, you guys had the tape before any of us did. You got your lineage from Sidewalk. Shout out to Floor Rockers. You know what I'm saying? Like, basically, if I talk about Sidewalk, I'm basically talking about Floor Rockers. But because you had the tape before, I don't even know how we got it. Because that shit migrated from San Jose to Daly City. I don't even know how that happened. Right? Or it migrated from San Jose to Union City. That actually makes more sense, though. That makes more sense. Okay. So the Sidewalk tape, and we're going to talk about that next time. Jay, I'm going to have you and Money B on, and we can just review the tape. I've reviewed the tape here in the trades. You guys were ahead of the time, you know, as far as movements. Shout out to Money B. Shout out to rest in peace, Sean Ortiz. You know, so okay. So what you see here is Jazzy J and Wicked. Is this Jay again? Yeah, it's Jay again. Look how ahead of his time. Okay, that floor is slippery. Got to reset. Boom, boom. The way he did flares, the way he did flare 90 flare, the way his flares are, right? He has a unique look, right? He did Hurricanes almost there. Jay had a unique look to his power, right? Very different from like Storm, very different from Caesar, right? We just saw Caesar. You know, he's like, you know, Caesar's more compact. Like maybe he's like Jay's a little bit closer to Wilbur, you know, Willpower. But you see, now this is where we're going to get very technical about the Filipinos. Okay, so you had Elmer, you had, you know, the Rock Force, all Filipino crew from the 80s. Then came back in the 90s. Elmer was Filipino. Then Wicked, Jazzy J, continuing it. Caesar bringing back the Radiotron because he went to World War III out there in San Jose, bringing back Radiotron in the mid 90s and set off like shout out to Aiko too and Hank Lopez for like creating the first organized competitions, right? Where there were actual battles. Because when Caesar did the World War, it was showcases, right? The battles happened in the circles or the ciphers, but it was just mostly like talent shows, right? Like who had the best routine. But you know, Aiko had, you know, Hank Lopez had the best of the best where you sign up and you actually go head to head. Same thing in America that I know. If you know, yo, if anyone knows anywhere in America that had an organized competition from 91 to 93, let me know. Or 94, 95, let me know, because I don't think there is. Everyone could say whatever. Zulu Anniversary, Rocksteady Reunion, sure. Those aren't organized competitions. I'm talking to organized competitions. I believe it was Best of the Best in Radiotron. Right? B says, Master Movements came in just behind Freestyle Session at the first Radiotron, probably because it wasn't there. Word. Okay. So now check out this lineage. I just mentioned Radiotron. If there was no Radiotron, there would be B-Boy Summit, right? Because Easy Rock and Asia One wanted to have something other than just competition. Because at B-Boy Summit, you can actually see Jurassic 5 on the panels, talk about hip hop, actual rapping. You had actual graffiti, even though I'm sure that Radiotron had the artists from LA, had Hex come down, had, you know, Rocka and Irie Silence come down and support, but Summit had panels and discussions, and that was different. And there was not a competition at the time. It was just literally a B-Boy Summit, right? So a bunch of Filipinos influenced Caesar to make Radiotron. That because of that, Easy Rock and Asia One made Summit. And then when Summit left San Diego and went to LA, Cross One wanted to continue something in San Diego, and he called that Freestyle Session. All because a bunch of Filipino kids in 1993 talk about that. No one talks about that. I just did. I don't care. I have the receipts. I have the people saying it. You know what I'm saying? So now we're going to get into J-Rock's period and B's period. We're talking about the Radiotron, right? But now we're talking about, you know, we need to do obviously we got to do one about the Latinos and like Flow Rockers and how Flow Rockers spread to Puerto Rico. We need to talk about that story. Eventually, we need to talk about that story. But, you know, another crew that stood out at Summit 96, at Radiotron 96 was Style Elements. Style Elements stuck out, right? Style Elements stuck out. Hint, hint, J-Rock in the chat. And they had, you know, since like I said, yo, Jay, I gotta cover you and your brother with Sidewalk, and we could talk about Flow Rockers and have Poe on here. But we're talking about, you know, Pinoys, and since it's Filipino American History Month, we gotta talk about a person that really took the style that we did, the Knuckleneck Tribe style we did in the early 90s, and basically relived it, revamped it in a different way, adding hip hop freestyle with breaking. That being said, I know that Gizmo and Bag of Tricks were doing it in Toronto. I know that Step Fiends were doing it in New York. They're mixing house dancing, hip hop freestyle with breaking. But the guy who made it popular, let's be real. The guy who made it popular is a guy that I'm going to pull out right now, who is half native and half Pinoy, Native American, that is. And that's my brother Ariston, man. And you guys know him as Remind.
Yourself, just let it out. Y'all just let it out. Holla and let it out.
Remind basically changed a lot of breaking. Style Elements changed a lot of breaking. But again, as far as a Pinoy, it was B-Boy Remind. Shout out to B-Boy Wicked too. But Remind actually like really stuck to like, okay, I want to mix this style together, you know what I mean? Like, you know, his influence being Walt, right? Derek. You know what I'm saying? But as a Pinoy, like, he was, you know, he was one that, like, just like Jazzy J. If Jazzy J innovated power moves, Remind innovated style, right? There would be not a lot of, like, B-boys, obviously, like, you know, even though Crumbs was named Crumbs because he left Crumbs and everyone took a piece, we all looked at Remind like, damn, this is next level, you know what I'm saying? Taking different angles and stuff like that. And, you know, he's continuing the legacy of what Pinoy's, you know, did in breaking, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, like, that's one guy that basically helped the scene grow as far as being Pinoy. And that's the thing. Everyone, you know, everyone outside goes like, "Oh, you mean from LA?" It's like, no, from the Bay Area, or you know, Stockton, Northern California. How about that? Fair enough. Fair enough. We're gonna say Northern California. Back to the chat. B says Delano had a Filipino weekend. Word. See, that's what I'm saying. Like I said, I just came from one in Livermore, and I didn't even know it was Filipino American History Month. And this is very important because you know we're talking about Filipino Americans, and you know we went from like through the timeline we went 80s, right? We went the 80s, then we went early 90s, then we went now we're like mid 90s, right? Radiotron Summit, that's like mid 90s, that's like 95, 96, 97. You know, that footage that we just saw of Remind, it was like a mixture of like 97, 98. But now let's talk about the 2000s, right? So at this point, there's a bunch of like, you know, immigrants coming from Guam, right? And we're not even talking about the other Pinoy brothers, like, you know, we're not even talking about BIS. Oh, Policy likes to talk about that. Rock Force versus BIS. Okay, so it was they battled Spidey. Yeah. Alwyn was there. I don't know if I should tell this story or not. I wasn't there. I heard about this battle because there's something there very comedic that happened at this battle. And I'm not gonna put my boy in blast, but I remember they battled BIS because I first seen Spidey actually at the Dumpy Hotel in 1993. Crazy Legs was at that event. They wanted Elmer and Rocksteady, and I remember first time seeing BIS, and I heard they're like, damn, they're like far away, but they break. What the hell, you know what I mean? So shout out to Spidey, rest in peace, Spidey, man. You know, and he wanted in the Olympics, and yeah, I remember seeing him, and he was part of BIS. So we talk about Remind. I say Remind was a big influence, but I'm gonna talk about Reveal too. Reveal's another Pinoy brother that was like, you know, innovating things, you know what I mean? Taking things and innovating things, but you know, Remind was like one of the figures. Like we would see Jazzy J, Wicked, Remind. These are the Filipinos that were figures. And people don't even realize it. People don't even realize it. A lot of people think they're Latin American. A lot of people think that they're like maybe Chinese. You know what I mean? They don't realize that they're Filipino. So talking about Filipino Americans, and Crumbs just kind of posted this, but I wanted to kind of like show it as proof that we were there. Is an interview that happened about a week ago. And this interview was with Netflix star.
I feel
Joe
like
Coy.
Crumbs was in our the video we did for
Talking about style elements.
Jesus.
Because he was roommates with
You and
Crumbs.
King Tech?
Yeah.
Follow
Can't
for
believe
now.
I'll follow for now.
But obviously
Style
Joe Coy
Elements
knows
changed the
Breakin.
game for
It'll come to
B-boys.
it. Yeah.
Like all these big like power moves that you see like
The
all these
anthem.
He means
Sorry,
style.
anthem, my bad.
Let's be real. He
Anthem.
means style.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But
him.
like all those big moves and power combos and all that, like that's all style elements. They did that first. So
They were the first. I remember going.
and
to
that's what freaked everybody out. That's what freaked Rocksteady out. Like they couldn't believe these kids from
96.
Stockton were just
B-Boy Summit
No, it
96.
was
in their
amazing.
event.
In their event, and so when I went to Radiotron, I jumped, which is a
Radiotron
B-boy,
mentioned.
event where you know some of the illest dancers around come and they battle. If you make it into Radiotron, that's like making it NBA. You know, all right. And I remember watching Crumbs and Remind and B-Boy Ivan and calling King Tech right then and there and told him, man, the game has just elevated to a whole nother level. That I don't know if old school dudes could come into that level. They just got to perfect what it is that they do.
Yeah.
Boom. He said it. So he said style elements. Again, a Pinoy, a Filipino American who's half white, a Filipino American, Joe Coy, who just had his special, and he had Ronnie on there. Talk about breaking when he was in Seattle, obviously in the 80s, but living in Vegas, knowing Remind, knowing Crumbs, knowing their value. And you can watch that video with Joe Coy, with Sway, and he talks about how he used the Magic Show, which was like Tribal had a booth, and Barmac used to be there, and Cypher, different hip hop clothing gears. He could talk about that, how he got with Dada and made Illest to the Game. Now, I think the first, quote me on this, B, you might know, or Jay, you might know this, the first Illest to the Game, I believe the finals was Iron Monkey, Reveal, Vietnam, and maybe EJ. I'm not sure. But in the finals was a crew, a lot of them from Guam, and that was Full Force, right? I got some footage, and this is what I didn't know is that Joe Coy helped throw Illest the Game. That I did not know. When he said that, I was like, whoa, he threw that event together? I don't have footage of the first Illest the Game, which I believe was 2000, because that's the first time I heard of Full Force. Was in 2000. Copyright. So here's the battle. Here's in Las Vegas, right, where you had, a lot of the hand trasher style. I think that's Moy. Yeah, but I didn't know Joe Coy threw this event together, which is crazy, right? Well, anyway, so the guy that he talked about and who he put in his Netflix documentary when he went to the Philippines, was B-Boy Ronnie. So we're going to see some footage from B-Boy Ronnie from Guam, but is a Filipino and lives in Las Vegas, representing Full Force. Yeah, Full Force. So, because supposedly Joe Coy lived in Vegas, and the majority of Full Force being from Guam, because in 2000 I met a few Full Force members in Hawaii. They said they were from Guam, right? So B-Boy Ronnie, and again, he was in Joe Coy's special, his Netflix special, and yeah, this is the one that Ronnie won in 2007. He won against Rockstrite in the finals. Nice. B-Boy Ronnie. Pinoy again. So we listed a bunch of Pinoys. Now let's see some Pinays. Let's see. I wasn't ready for this, but I didn't write it down right away. But let's take a look at from New York, or is it New Jersey? We're still repping right now. Who is Pinoy? Thank you, sir. Who looks Pinoy is Abby Girl. Representing Street Masters now. Back then, Problems Crew. Big Girl Abby. And this footage is from like 2009 or 99. She was in the she was in that video with Eric Sermon, Redman, and Keith Murray, and that was the remake of the Rapper's Delight song, and she was in that video. Abby Girl's in that video. That's receipts right there. And I didn't even go into some of the stuff that I was talking about earlier. Like, for instance, so there was, I was in Portland, Seattle, back in 2008, and I was a blessed one. And he was like, yeah, we got these tapes from the Bay from the early 90s. I'm going to put this VHS in, and you tell me who's in this clip. I said, sure, yeah, no problem. He puts in the tape, and it's like, oh yeah, I know who that person is. I know who that person is. And he's like, how do you know? I go, because I was right behind the camera. He was like, holy crap, this tape got spread all over Seattle. Of course, it's gonna get spread to Massive and Boss Crew, right? Which had Filipinos in it, right? In Seattle, in the Northwest. And this is how deep it goes. This is how deep it goes. Beast Mode, originally from Orlando, Florida, or is he from Tampa? He's definitely not from Miami. He said, when I first learned breaking, I learned it from a guy from Boss Crew, Filipino guy from Boss Crew. What? You're in Florida, but you learned from a Filipino. B-Boy Abstract from Skill Methods, when he was living in New York, he said himself, before he started hooking up with Quickstep, his first person that taught him breaking was a Filipino guy. And this is like mid-90s New York. One of the guys that innovated styles as much as Remind has. As much Abstract from Skill Methods, as much as Remind has influenced style and breaking and approaches, he learned from a Filipino guy. Shout out to Phonetic. You know what I'm saying? Okay, B saying, here's a receipt for you. The famous Run DMC versus Jason Neves. It's like that video. There's a B girl named Kat in there. She's Pinoy and my student. Nice. Yo, shout out. Wait, Kat from Cerritos? I might know who that is. Don't ask me how I know, but I think I know. All right. Well, anyway, does she know Babu? Is what I'm saying. Well, anyway, so this is what I'm saying. Like this is one of the reasons why Pinoys, because it was the Bay Area that continued breaking, because we were the only scene with, as you heard from Oliver Wang, that concentrated, and we kept it alive. Sorry, Corey, you guys were at the upper room, but we were at these little things doing our thing in the garages. And I could say I was doing a little bit of both. I was old enough to go to the upper room and go to the mission parties and see you guys rap, but Wicked and them weren't going to those. They were at the best of the best in Hank Lopez. But then they came from the guys from Daly City, who I'm talking about. Your Concrete Rockers, your Mega Movements, that became your PRTs. Again, shout out to DJ Marlino out there in San Diego, who's originally from Daly City, who made that mix where Caesar would perform to it because they didn't have anything. Now let me pull this receipt out real quick. Just as far as influence. Yeah, B. Yeah. It's the same person I know. Yes, sir. So this is what I'm saying though. Like there's like the influence that Pinoy's had in breaking, and this is again the untold story because everyone's just concentrating on the Pinoys now, B-Boy Mouse, Dizzy, we didn't, Gizmo from Bag of Tricks is Filipino, right? Gizmo from Bag of Tricks is Filipino. Dizzy's Filipino. You know what I'm saying? Mouse out there. And then I would used to get mad going to the Philippines because you don't understand how much we are anti-establishment. That's why we're good. Yet everyone in the Philippines wants to be establishment. We're trying to be anti that, if you know Rahman, he's anti-establishment. He's revolutionary. We ain't trying to hear that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Legend of B-Boy needs a B-Boy book. I agree. I hit him up. Actually, I tagged him in this because hey, you talk about, you're talking about what you call it. You're talking about DJs, and he did talk about dancers, but the influence that it has. So yeah, let me pull up this receipt real quick, and you tell me, guys. You tell me what you see. All right, you tell me what you see. I'm gonna pull up. Here, let me go to my history. I'm gonna pull up this real quick. So yeah, I gotta pull this up again because the thing is when I do these what you call it, this video, I have to be cautious because I put them in order so it doesn't throw me off the show, right? But I'm gonna show you one thing right here. So I'm gonna play this real quick from Jazzy J, all right? From Radiotron. Okay. I'm getting spammed right here, over here. All good. Thanks, spammers. Don't need to go to a, a dating site. But here, let me play this video of Jazzy J real quick. Okay, he does chair flare or Star Trek, early Star Trek. What's going on? Yo, B, as I'm looking for this clip, right? Okay, yeah, right here. Am I looking for this? Yo, B, were you at this Radiotron in 95? Let me know. Tell me in the chat. Tell me in the chat, B, if you're there. Shout out to B. If you don't know his art, follow B. That guy's a man. Dope ass illustrator. All right, here's Jazzy J, real quick. He does a capoeira kick to Flair. No one has done that before. Flair 90. Okay, grabbing his foot. And then he does the get low. That's a Bay Area dance, by the way. All right. So let's watch Jay again. Let's watch Jay's combo right here. He does a reset. Flair. Windmill 90. Flair. Right? Flair. Windmill flare to Hurricanes. Okay. We saw that, right? Boom. Okay. We all saw that, right? Now, yo, he says, yep. B says, yep, I was at that Radiotron. Yo, this Sunday we're going to have Little Caesar. He's going to talk about all this stuff. He's going to talk about, because we've been doing this timeline on movement, on moves from the Bronx. We started in the South Bronx 2 weeks ago. Now we went to the exploitation era as far as timeline and style. Like we talk about Oz Rock, we talk about, German, we talk about all these guys from the 80s, right? So in the next week, this Sunday, we're going to talk about LA in the 80s and LA in the 90s. And he will say these things, and I will pull the receipts of what they were doing back then. What about Kevo? He Pinoy? Yes, Kevo is Pinoy. I'm about to go there. But we're talking about the Florida guys a little bit, how the Navy, because a lot of these people from the military, after they graduated high school, they went east. A lot of these Pinoys, right? Jacksonville. Well, anyway, but let me pull up this receipt real quick. So we just saw Jay go down, right? Now, okay, again, Storm in the 90s, a lot of combos like Jay, right? Caesar, same thing, a lot of combos. But the way and the look of, power moves in Korea, you tell me. You guys tell me. You guys tell me. Okay, I'm playing Bruce Lee. You guys tell me. What does that look like? Okay, first of all, that first move, flare to inside 90. Is that not Jazzy J? Didn't Jazzy J do it first? Flare to inside 90? Didn't Jazzy J do it first? And now we see this clip from South Korea in the 2000s with Bruce Lee. He just did it here. Right here. Flare inside 90. It's air flare. Okay. Okay. Let's be real now. Let's be real now. Does that look like Caesar doing that? I love Caesar. Does it look like Storm doing that? Or does it look like the clip we just kind of saw of Jazzy J doing that? Who's Filipino? And the story goes, in South Korea, how they got good at breaking, right? How South Korea got good at breaking is that they were getting, in the mid-90s, a man from Seattle was getting these tapes and shipping them to South Korea. That guy's name is John Jay from Circle of Fire. You don't think that KYS, Bruce Lee, B-Boy Phoenix, Wild Dot, you're telling me that they didn't study Jazzy J? Jazzy J from Mega Movements? Jazzy J of Renegade's crew? Who was Pinoy? They were watching, man. They were watching. Jazzy J was an innovator. Yes, he was. Jason Badiola. Shout out to Jason Badiola. I think he's in Jazzy J, aka Jazzy J. I think he's in either North Carolina or South Carolina. Shout out to Jazzy J, Wicked's partner. You know, Wicked, a beast himself. Like, look at that, man. You're not saying that this guy, Jazzy J, there's a piece of Jazzy J in Gerald. There's a piece of Jazzy J in B-Boy Ruin. There's a piece of Jazzy J in KYS, Bruce Lee, the B-Boys, and Phoenix. Wild Dot. Look at their form. Because that doesn't look like Caesar. You know, that doesn't look like how Europeans like to do like quick, fast power. This is long, stretched out power, right? And everyone's like, oh my God, old school Bruce Lee from Gamblers. Like, dude, look who he looked up to. It was Jazzy J from the Renegades. Come on, let's be real. Let's be real. I believe so. B says, ain't he doing sports broadcasting or something? I believe so. I believe so. I think Jazzy J is doing that. So yeah, we haven't even, you know, we haven't even talked about Gizmo. We haven't even talked about, you know, we talked about Remind. Like, we haven't talked about Dizzy. Now, another one, yeah, let's pull that. Another innovator, for sure. I mean, I was slept on. I don't know why. Like, we talked about Ronnie, right? But B-Boy Kevo? Come on, everyone's like, you know, for all these new kids, B-Boy Kevo, who's that? B-Boy Kevo, who's that? Haven't you heard of Main Ingredients? Who's that? But if I say Stripes, you know who Main Ingredients is. You know. Wait, B-Boy Stripes is in Main Ingredients? Yeah, and guess who else was in Main Ingredients? Kevo. Jacksonville, Florida, like I said. Jacksonville, Florida. That footage, some of the footage I pulled out that was from the Bay Area is from Florida. How did they get that? How did they get this footage from Florida? You know, how did they get that, you know, that footage? You know what I'm saying? So this is B-Boy Kevo. You know, even Stripes was like, yo, when me and Kevo, there goes Stripes in the background, actually. That's Stripes right there. That's Stripes. Right? Stripes ain't new. He's been around. He's been around. Main Ingredients, if you guys don't know, Jules from MZK is Main Ingredients. You know what I'm saying? So this is what I'm saying. Everyone doesn't, you know, they stop, their homework stops at like 2015. You know what I'm saying? That makes me, you know, that makes my old man rant come out even more. You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, there's older school than freaking what you call it. There's history prior to where is this? There's history prior to 2015. You know what I'm saying? So Kevo, Pinoy. I'm trying to find the footage of. I'm trying to find footage. That footage I had of War Games, and if I show you the address of the guy who posted it, is a Pinoy that's in Florida. Yet, why is this Pinoy guy in Florida have footage from the Bay Area, from Vallejo, California? Yo, B says late 80s, early 90s, we had Prodigy crew made up of two Pinoy freestyle dancers, Rec and Ray Gunn. Rec became a West Coast rock steady. Word. Stonesky says the other time thought Jazzy J was Mexican. No, he's Filipino. Jazzy J's Filipino. Massive Monkeys, B-Boys. Yes, the crew's massive and boss crew. Again, a lot of them are Filipino. Jeromsky, whose Fever student is Filipino. They ran a house party scene back then. Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. I tagged Redmatic in this too. Hopefully he'll watch this too. Shout out to Redmatic. Shout out to Babu. War games. B-boy. Vallejo. And Joe. Okay, yeah, I'm just looking up all this again. Okay, so here we go. Let me pull up this footage again. So again, yo, what up? I'm just breaking down some of the history, Pinoy history and breaking, and how I just traced the lineage to Korea. The best in Korea, influenced by a Daly City kid. I just pulled the receipt. We must seek and learn from the true roots people, indigenous people, including our more relatives. Yeah, I broke down the Moors. I broke down the Moors, right? And the Indonesians, right? Roots and culture. Shout out to Clay. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Lapu Lapu. So check this out. Let me pull this receipt real quick. Okay. So and then we're gonna wrap it up soon. But here's the video I pulled earlier from War Games. But look at that. Vallejo War Games B-Boy Jam at Vallejo High School circa 1993. But look at this name. Florida B-Boy Archive. This is Vallejo. Why is it Florida B-Boy Archive? Why? Because of the military. Because of the military. It got spread out there. Look, this guy has videos from 2002 out for fame. That's nothing too crazy. But check this out. He has a performance from Dangerous Image. They're mostly Vietnamese from San Jose. And look, this is like a whole party. Shout out to Visette. That was Elmer's like rival. And DI was part of San Jose. Oh, let me break this down too. So look, so San Jose was known mostly for routines, right? So let me look for this. So as I talk, I'm gonna pull out another receipt because I forgot. This is very big that I didn't do. I can't believe I forgot this. You know, if we're talking about Ronnie, right? Talking about Ronnie. So there was a crew called Jughead Tribe, right? And they had affiliates. And in the early 90s. Oh, actually, I'm gonna pull out that. Oh, why didn't I think of that? Shansky. So, you know, there's like I showed you that so Jughead and San Jose, the South Bay, kind of had this. They had this reputation of doing routines. Like we hated it. Me and Rob hated it. We're like, nah, routines, whatever, man. It's about the solos. Get out of here with that routine stuff, you know. That was San Jose. Like Jughead liked to do routines, even though they had Sean Ortiz, right? They like to do routines. Let me go back here. Of course, yes, Island, Islands. Okay, so DI was a crew that they like to do routines. Shout out to Visette, right? So I'm gonna pull out this performance. I'm talking about comedians. This is Al Manalo, who's a Filipino comedian. And again, I was at this event. Yes, Jedi had their routines. Yep. And this is Jedi. They performed right before Rock Force did. Right? And the thing is, they had shout out to John and Jeff, right? John follows me on Facebook still. But we didn't like them because they were routines and there's two like. So this is Jedi Clan. Right. Oh, it's Randy. My bad, Randy. It's Randy and John. Right. So this is Jedi Clan. I thought it was Jeff for some reason, but no, I think it's Jeff and Randy. Right. Okay, so that was like more freestyle hip hop. This is what me and more Rob did back in the day, right? Okay, so you guys saw that, right? Here's the thing. So you just saw Jedi. So you saw Randy. Randy's a very important person in what I'm about to say. So Randy starts teaching a bunch of people, and he had these routines. So George Lucas actually had a cease and desist letter to this crew called Jedi Clan. Why? Because Jedi, right? It's Star Wars, right? So they had to change their names. And since they can't use Jedi, what does a Jedi do? He has a mind trick, right? So they had to change their names from Jedi because of George Lucas. Again, right? Skywalker Ranch is not too far. Jedi Clan's from San Jose. Skywalker Ranch is in Marin. So they changed it to Mind Tricks. Jedi Mind Tricks. They changed their name to Mind Tricks. And who is in Mind Tricks? This guy named Gary. What did Gary do? He would go all the way to San Diego and he would meet up with another dance collective called Culture Shock, which was Rainin, right? Who was a Rhythm Bugs, right? Pinoy, Filipino, right? Chris of Full Force, right? Eddie Styles from Rock So Fresh, Sasso from Rock So Fresh. And what do they call themselves? From the Mind Tricks, they needed a theme, so they called themselves the Jabberwockies, which is connected to the Bay. Come on. Come on. So these guys that you see, we used to battle them all the time. Here, I put them again. We're like, we hated them. Me and Rob were like, oh, they're going to do routines again. That's all they're good. Let's see the solos, buddy. Let's see the solos. But these guys are doing routine. Again, here's the receipt. 1993. This is Randy's an original Jabba influence, right? Wish One, DJ Wish One now. Who would have thought 20 years later they would be in 2007, shaping America and America's best dance crew? Who knew, right? Who knew? And there are the receipts. This is what I'm talking about. We had a big influence in the dance scene, and no one even knows it. Let's even talk about the Indonesians that are in it. Create that lived in Virginia, big influence on the Elusives. Then you have like the immigrants from Indonesia, like Cisco from Hustle Kids, Shane from Hustle Kids, Justin Beer from Hustle. They're from Indonesia. Their ancestry is from Indonesia, which is basically South of Philippines, right? Basically the uncolonized Filipinos, if you want to say that a little bit, right? I mean, the thing about when you hear Indonesian, it's Malayu, but with a Filipino accent. So it's really weird, but it's still kind of cool, right? Because they look like us, but they don't eat pork, we don't eat pork. Oh, damn. B said, we called out Mind Tricks at the Friendship Games on stage because they did something similar in Jam on the Groove. Bro, he's at the Friendship Games. Now, this is how you know B is Filipino. Because this is like, Friendship Games is like, if you went to college and, you had all the Filipino sororities and frats, this is like in the college and the collegiate people, this was like a social gathering. It's like, oh, we got to go to the Friendship Games. It sounds like B was dancing out there. There you go. Gizmo, yeah. Stoneski, I said Gizmo. Dizzy, yo, Deadly Mike. Shout out to Deadly Mike, right? I think he's Pinoy. I believe he's Pinoy. I don't want to be too wrong, but I think he's Pinoy. Who draws for Marvel now. Like dope illustrations. Deadly Mike, who's a B-boy. You know what I'm saying? I believe he's Filipino. Dangerous Image was mostly Vietnamese. Shout out to Visette. They were mostly Vietnamese. But like, yeah, we just watched a clip from, did I erase it already? Yeah, sorry guys, I keep erasing it because I want to keep track of, like, I use the tabs on YouTube as a way to, and I put them in order as to present how I'm gonna do the show. So I erase it right away to get to my point, but I always seem to have to go back just to kind of to get my thoughts together. But then I always have to see, if you tune in late, I did show clips of Dangerous Image. And yeah, they're mostly, and that's what led to the Jabberwocky talk, because a lot of the guys from San Jose did mostly routines, except for Jughead. But Jughead did routines too. But you know, they were known for like Jughead. To me, were predominantly known as guys who had dope solos, right? You know what I'm saying? Oh, Miles. Yeah, Miles. Yeah, shout out to my boy Milestone. He's mixed. He's Jewish and Filipino. So here's DI. You know, again, they weren't honestly. DI wasn't that good at breaking till later because again, the housing period kind of died at a certain point. The housing period kind of died, and everyone became b-boys after Rock Force 2 and Renegades. It was like everyone went from freestyle hip hop to straight breaking. You know what I mean? And this is evidence again. And again, I'm gonna pull this thing out. Like, you know, this is a video. This is a video from San Jose, but look at the guy who posted it was from Florida. And here's the story. You know what's crazy is that this guy from Florida, I believe, was in a crew called Ill Immigrants from Orlando. And the thing is about Ill Immigrants, there's a crewmate in my crew, Florida Gangs USA, named Ray Guns, who was kind of down with the Ill Immigrants. And a lot of these guys had the videos and would mentor like guys like Zeku and Break MIA. They were influenced by kind of these guys from Florida that were Filipino. Again, I talked about Beast Mode, who's from Orlando or Tampa, but he learned from a Pinoy from Boss Crew in Seattle that was stationed probably either in Jacksonville or Tampa, who was Pinoy. Abstract from Skill Methods learned from my first, before he met up with Quickstep and them, his first person that he used to his partner was Filipino. And you know, in the beginning of this show, I talked about Oliver Wang talked about there was a concentrated critical mass out here in the Bay Area with Filipinos. And Corey, yo, I saw you at the Mission Street joints, but you didn't know about this stuff I was going to either. You guys were too busy rapping and tagging. I was rapping and tagging and then going over here and checking these guys out. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it was like we had this influence that no one knew. We kept it alive for a long, as a scene. I won't say we were the best. No, that's later, right? That's what I would say. We start to get good around the Jazzy J period, right? Elmer was like the first. Then it became like Wick and Jazzy J, then Remind, and then there was like this whole thing that happened. You know what I'm saying? This whole boom after Radiotron. Because this is the stuff that I'm pulling, a lot of it's pre-Radiotron. Radiotron is the beginning. That's what most of the Florida guys think, that they made up shit, but they were watching Radiotron. They went to the Zulu Anniversary. I get it. You know, Storm and Swift and Maurizio, they went to Zulu Anniversary in 94. You know, they went to the Rocksteady reunions. You know, 91 was the first one. But the innovating movements in the West Coast came from here. You know what I mean? So these are the receipts. I just wanted to present that. And I'm not even, this is just the surface. This is just like little bits of it. But I want to like do this show because a lot of people don't know. Like Stoneski's here from Canada thought that Jazzy J was Mexican, right? Freestyle, they're mostly Mexican. J-Rock's Mexican, right? Or maybe he's not Mexican, but you know, like he's from, you know, South America. You know what I mean? So, yo, Redmatic, salute. Yo, I broke down a lot of stuff. You got B in the chat. We talked about a lot of the B-boys. We talked about the Bay Area. We referred to Oliver Wang. I played an Oliver Wang clip from his lecture talking about how Pinoys were predominantly, you know, from like San Francisco, Daly City, Union City, Fremont, Hercules, Vallejo, and how we had all the mobile DJs and how that basically supplied a place for us to dance at. Like, for instance, you know, some of these I'll pull this one up. Actually, let me do some more flex right here. Let me do some more history flex. You know what I'm saying? Actually, yeah, let me go back to what the Caesar thing. Because you guys are familiar with Radiotron. So let me pull up, you know, pre-Radiotron. I played this earlier, but I think it'll be good. Rhett's in the chat, so I have to like, you know, pull the receipt real quick. First of all, let's pull this receipt. DJ Extravaganza. I was at this event too. I pulled this clip earlier. Rhett's a special one. DJ Extravaganza, D Styles won this thing. You know what I mean? I forgot if Second to None won the DJ setup battle, but this is at its finest. Yo, I was dancing for a lot of sounds from all of Alameda, and they had a hydraulic press bring the turntables all the way to the roof while they were mixing, and we were dancing for them. And there was like 5 or 6 ciphers here. And again, I shout out to J-Rock from Style Limits. This is the first time Knuckleneck battled Sean Ortiz. He wasn't Jughead yet, but he probably was like, oh, there's B-boys and dancers here. I'm going to go here. And probably Jughead saw him here and was like, hey, you're a part of Sidewalk. I want you down in Jughead. So, you know, rest in peace, Sean Ortiz, right? So that's one receipt. The other one is this one. The other one is, I got to pull this one from when Caesar was dancing at in World War here. The history. Dang. One too crazy. Okay, there you go. But yeah, so shout out to Oliver Wang because he was very important to like kind of, I want to pull from the DJ part first because they like the Imagines, like my cousins won in Zero Gravity, won the first Imagine. And then by the time I started coming around, Imagine died. But that whole vibe of the Imagine was guys like Dave Dynamics bringing these events together, like World War, and then Caesar coming up, and coming up and coming to this, to World War. And if we look at the background, and I'm at this event too, if we look at the background, that's all Filipino kids, man. And the reason, again, he went to this event. He went to this event and he said, if they're doing it in the Bay, I'm going to bring back Radiotron. Right? Knuckleneck Tribe. Yep, West Coast Rocksteady. Shout out to the hip hop shop too. Right? Iceman, all them. So yeah, I want to bring up the West Coast Rocksteady. Obviously, that's a big part of what, you know, how Pinoy shaped, again, who was part of West Coast Rocksteady. Zulu Gremlin was part of West Coast Rocksteady, who recruited Easy Rock, aka Access, you know, from the hip hop shop. But at the same time, you know, you had, you know, from the Knuckleneck Tribe, Gizmo, who was part of the Renegades in the 80s, and P Kid, you know, who was from Star City in the 80s, Pinoy, right? G Boogie, Pinoy. So, you know, I just want to like basically talk about this history that no one talks about. Like, you know, like when they look at Remind, they look at him as native, but they don't know that he's Pinoy, he's half Pinoy. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, P Kid, that's what I'm saying. Actually, let me pull up that. Let me pull up that. I pulled up this other receipt and I'm gonna make it laugh. And then I'm gonna sign out because I've been on here for almost an hour. Happy to be here for almost an hour. But you know, special treat, guys. We got DJ celebrity in the house, DJ Redmatic. I'm pull out this receipt where I was at a DJ event, and Knuckleneck was at a DJ event. Right here, because there's I'm pulling out a receipt. That's all I'm saying. I'm pulling out a receipt. That's my boys from Vallejo. So that's me. We're at a DJ Kubert performance. You know what I'm saying? Do a footwork step that defines milestone profile. So that's me right there. Okay. I'm 16 years old at a Knuckleneck performance. That's okay. So just to let you know, that's Raccoon right there. He broke his leg. And that my man over here, my man D Maniac or Daryl, he was doing a lot of those body mills. And this is 1992. Here's the receipt, 1992. And let's show a performance with Hubert. That's before he lost his weight. We're beat juggling here. Then I'm gonna show you a knuckle neck performance. Alright, so here's a knuckle neck performance real quick. Thank you, Rhett. Profo's Bay Area OG. I try. There goes P-Kid right there. Alright. And that's because of copyright. G Boogie. It's right there. P-Kid, Pinoy. Right? And yo, this is what's real. P-Kid is a progenitor of Remind. When you think of P-Kid, I mean, you think of Remind, P-Kid's kind of that guy. He has that certain style. He has that certain flair, that certain bounce. And to be honest, P-Kid did that like Buddha, like Kip Up Buddha. P-Kid did that before Remind. I saw that him do that in 1992. This is Gizmo, Original Renegades. Again, doing that housing freestyle hip hop to look at Rollback 90. Come on. Come on. Right? There goes G Boog, another Pinoy. You know what I'm saying? Knuckle Neck Tribe. This is when they became West Coast Rock Steady. Aquin, shout out to Aquin. I remember friends coming, Oddballs crew. Oddballs, yeah, Oddballs. They were like that's the thing. They were like the Housers that weren't Filipino. Shout out to Oddballs. Yeah. Aquin, yep. P-Kid, there you go. So you can see what's crazy watching this video, right? You're like, yeah, this is how kids dress now. Like, you know what I'm saying? So this is 1992, and you can see I was here. Yeah, I have proof. I have receipts that I was at this event. The guy was shouting at me. He's like, "Whoa, this wasn't Profo 16 at this time? Like, what the hell?" There goes P-Kid again. We're gonna end it off right after P-Kid. I'm gonna sign out real quick. But yo, dude, look at that. I mean, he had unique style, bro. Like, for real. No one goes into 90 like that either anymore. Yeah, let's enjoy that a little bit. Yo, that was weird. Half Halo Kip Up. You know what I'm saying? All right. All right. So, again, you know, we're talking about the influence. And here are all the receipts. I dare anyone to yo, Rhett. Oh no, yeah, B. We're gonna have Lil Caesar on Gearheads this Sunday, 7 p.m. PST, right? Come on there. That's a different channel, but I'll be posting it on my community tab, and we're gonna talk about LA stuff from his perspective. But what would be dope eventually would be to get your side B. You know what I'm saying? Because you could like you, Stuntman. I think that would be a dope story too. Because we're trying to like before the Olympics comes in, we need to, you know, put the receipt down before anyone says any crazy shit. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So before we wrap it up, I'm gonna do house cleaning again. 65% of you are watching but are not subscribed. Help out the channel. Obviously, I'm doing, I'm trying to do some good work here, trying to document things, trying to curate this hip hop history that's not been told, because I'm the type of nerdy dude to do it and still bust an air flare on you at 47. You know what I'm saying? So please subscribe. You know what I mean? Check out the Gearheads Breakcast channel. That's where I'm going to have the interview with Lil Caesar this Sunday with my man J Soul, High State Rocker. And you can follow the Gearheads IG right there, Gearheads IG. Again, giving a shout out to Zinwell, the sponsor, CBD. Get 10% off with the promo code PROFOWON. There's the roll-on, and then there's also the nano drops. I'm going to take one right now. CBD is non-psychoactive, good for rest, relaxation, anxiety, and repair. Get 10% off. Go to the website, zinworld.com. Promo code PROFO1. And if you want to see me work out and stuff like that, check my IG out, Instagram, at PROFO_FLGZ. This has been The Trades. The influence of Pinoys and Pinays in breaking. Thanks for tuning in. This is down now. This is in the books. It's documented, and we had the receipts. Thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks for supporting me. Peace. Thanks to J Rock, Ratmatic, and B Royalty in the building. You know what I mean? Thanks for tuning in, y'all. Peace, and I'll see you guys next time. Sunday, Gearheads.